Today we're learning how to demonstrate to spray the N9526 water-based cement. When you first get the pail, you definitely want to remove the cover and stir with a stir stick to make sure everything's mixed up well, nothing is settled down on the bottom of the container. Well, once you have that hand stirred up where there's nothing settled, you can go ahead and load this in the pot. In a 5-gallon pressure pot, you can actually set the whole bucket right down inside. You'll notice that I've got a big blade for agitation, but it's also on an gear motor drive, which is about a 15-to-1 gear reduction, because we want to agitate this material at a very slow speed to prevent foaming. With spraying a water-based material, you're going to want to make sure everything in the system is water-based compatible. Where this is a stainless steel tank, everything coming in contact with the fluid is either stainless steel or brass. I do have a little bit of aluminum in here also. On the outlet of the tank, I'm actually using a 30 mesh Y strainer. There's the filter element, which is equal to about 500 micron. The spray gun that we're using today is just a regular conventional air spray gun. I'm going to remove the air cap, or sometimes referred to as the air nozzle. The fluid tip on the gun, where the actual material is coming out, is 55 thousandths, which is equal to 1.4 millimeter in metric. The gun does have stainless steel fluid passages, and you can also use HVLP too. The air cap can be oriented in any position depending on how the sprayer is actually spraying the part. They can move it vertically or horizontally. When getting ready to spray the product, a lot of people ask what the air pressure and fluid pressures would be set at. Depending on the type of spray equipment, depending on the ID of the fluid hose, air lengths, the length of hose, pressures will vary between different types of equipment and all this. So I'm going to show you the best way to set this up. The first regulator I've got on the tank is actually pressurizing the pressure vessel. It's controlling how much amount of fluid is actually going to come out of the front of the gun. And that's what I'm going to set up first. I'm slowly going to regulate this up. I'm going to turn on my fluid, and I'm going to trigger the gun. And you'll see the material start to come up the hose. And then it's actually coming out of the front of the gun. Actually, I'm at a very low pressure, and you see how the material stream's just coming out. That's a real good setting to set that at. We don't want it to where we've got so much fluid pressure that we can shoot a material stream across the room. That material stream should come out about 8 to 12 inches and start to arc off. That's a perfect setting. Now we can actually turn on our atomization air. This is the air used to break up the material. I'm going to start out at a low atomization pressure. This is the air coming out of the front of the gun. Most guns, almost every gun, have got two positions. You pull back once, it's turning on the air, and then that second pull back is pulling back the needle of the gun allowing the material to come out. I'm going to make a quick test pass on a piece of cardboard. You can see the bigger droplets that aren't atomized finally. And it's kind of an inconsistent pattern. What we want to do is come up more on our atomization pressure to break these bigger droplets up. So I'm just going to turn up the atomization air regulator, usually in 5-pound increments. And you can spray another test pass. You can see how they're a lot finally broken up now. Our spray gun also has a pattern control adjustment, which will allow you to go down to a perfect dot or open it up to when you get the pattern that you desire. So basically, after you get your gun adjusted, you'd be looking at a spray pattern that looks somewhat like a football, consistent. It's not heavy on the top, not heavy on the bottom. We just drew this a little bit to kind of simulate what tread would look like, what we're trying to spray. And I'm going to run a quick pass down it. That's about what the type of coverage we'd be looking at for this cement. We're putting it on no more than 2 moils wet. We got complete coverage where you're not seeing any of the cardboard showing through. And you want a light coat, but complete coverage. From the last test pattern we sprayed, you normally will see this dry within about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. If you're over the 3-minute range, you're probably applying too much. Air movement will be a big key for driving the water out of the cement and getting it drier quick. So if you get some fans that can be placed on it, it'll help drive that water out. One thing I did with my air and fluid adjustments, this is not an automated equipment, but if you were keeping up with something automated and we needed to go a little bit faster, you're just going to come up on your fluid pressure the same way that I showed before and actually adjust the air pressure accordingly. The more fluid that you flow, the more air pressure it's going to take to atomize the material. Going back to the pressure pot, one thing I didn't show you is the air motor drive that's on top. We're just turning this at a real slow speed, the paddles at a low speed. We recommend prior to start each day that maybe this gets agitated for 10 minutes, probably 10-15 minutes tops would be good for the complete day. Once that's done, you can actually shut the air motor drive off. The material will not settle out. Flushing procedures, you're going to have to use the L400 cleaner to flush the cement out. And basically, we could do a back flush on this system where you're actually relieving all the air pressure from the tank. You can come up on your atomization pressure. Right now I'm relieving all the air pressure in the tank. So I've got no material pressure here. I still have my atomization pressure, and I've unscrewed the air cap a little bit. If you hold a rag over it and trigger the gun, it will force all the material back into the tank. You can recover that all out of your lines. And then you can, just like we loaded the paint, you could load your L400 cleaner and flush it through the system.